Okay, making global payments as instant, easy, and pretty much free as using social media. That's the mission of Strike, a digital wallet built on Bitcoin's payment protocol known as the Lightning Network. Now, Strike has just launched in Argentina. It's already present in El Salvador and thinking about further expansion across Latin America, where many people have no access to traditional banks, are battered by high inflation, and lack trust in governments and unstable monetary systems. Joining us now is Jack Mallers, the founder and CEO of Strike. Jack, Happy New Year and welcome back. I'm sure many of my viewers will remember our first conversation, but you are back, and I just want you to remind my viewers, if they didn't watch our previous conversation, what's the vision of Strike? What are you aiming to achieve?
Julia, I'm back.
Hi.
Did you miss me? Of course you did. Yeah, so here's the mission at Strike, Julia. With Bitcoin, not only do we have the best monetary asset in human history, we have the best monetary network in human history. What do I mean by that, Julia? For the first time ever, we can escrow value, we can move money across borders, across space, across time, from a consumer to a merchant. We can move a bearer instrument from A to B at no cost and instantly. And so that is something, Julia, Visa can't do, Western Union can't do, PayPal can't do that. It is an innovation in a payments experience. And so what Strike does is not speculate on the price of Bitcoin, whether it goes to the moon, whether it staggers a little bit longer, it doesn't matter to us, is that we connect your bank account, stable coins, your cash collateral, and use this monetary payment network to escrow the value under the hood as a superior payments rail and a superior payments experience compared to the Visas and the Western Unions of the world.
Yeah, and what stood out to me in our last conversation was the cost, because you only charge execution costs, and this is critical, particularly when we're talking in parts of the world, and we'll come to it like Argentina. Remittance costs in places like that are multi-percentage points. Talk to me about the cost of doing this too for individuals that are using the product.
Julia, it doesn't cost us anything. Think about it. Why does Western Union charge 20% sometimes? Well, because every single month they have rent to pay in 200 countries. You know what rent I gotta pay? Just this gorgeous empty closet. I don't have any sunken costs. I don't have any fixed costs. Bitcoin solved a lot of the monetary functions that we know as very expensive with cryptography and with math. And so I can escrow a bearer instrument in Bitcoin. It's worth the same amount in Chicago as it is in London, as it is in Nigeria, as it is in Argentina, and I can zip it around the world instantly and for free. And so the novel thing about what we do, though, Julia, is that we don't want to expose everyone to the inherent volatility. Listen, if you think Bitcoin's going to the moon, own it. If you don't like it, don't touch it. But what we can do is take your dollars and escrow them around the world over the Bitcoin network. So think about this. What if I wanted to send money from Chicago to London? What we can do is take dollars out of your bank account, turn it into Bitcoin, zip that value to London instantly and for free. You blink, you'd miss it. It goes so fast and it costs nothing. And then we turn it back into British pounds. And so a Western Union payment that may take 4 days and charge you 10% because they got to pay rent in the capital of the UK, well, didn't cost me anything, and it happened in less than a second. That's innovation, and that's how we use Bitcoin, the monetary network.
Yeah, and this is the speed that's key here, because to your point about Western Union or other places that can do this, there will be people watching this saying, hey, but isn't that what you do in US dollars? But it's the speed of transaction that takes place here that you knock out a lot of the sort of volatility and the risk, the slippage risk, as it's called in the industry, of the transaction between currencies, which is key here too. Talk to me about the Argentinian launch. Why this part of the world? And what's the role of stable coins? To our point about broader volatility, what's the role that that's going to play too?
Yeah, you got it. So Argentina is a country that's had 8 currency crises since their central bank was founded. They created the Argentine peso and tethered it to the dollar, but never fully dollarized, Julia. So their currency is rapidly devaluing, and inflation is going to exceed 50%. So you're talking about a place that uses the dollar as unit of account. Demand for the dollar is so high that in parallel black markets, it's worth twice as much. And so what we want to do is extend this global monetary network that's better than Visa, better than Western Union, and give them superior payments. Now, the trick is, how do I replicate the Chase Bank that we have in the US in Argentina? You cannot buy and move more than $200 a month in Argentina. They ban it because more use of dollars in a credit system is going to put a run on their federal reserves of the bank. And so how do I get around? How do I want to give them dollar cash collateral that they can use. If they want more exposure to Bitcoin, go get it. If they want less, stay in some dollar cash collateral. And then we use that collateral, we use that dollar balance to move money over the Lightning Network. And so our solution in El Salvador at first was to use stablecoins. Our solution in Argentina is to use stablecoins. It's a novel way for us to get dollars into other parts of the world where traditional banking systems aren't an option for us. And so we use stablecoins as the equivalent to the Chase Bank that I use here in the United States.
What are the government and the authorities in Argentina saying to you? Because it's funny, I watched your progress in El Salvador, and I saw one of the rating agencies saying to El Salvador, because obviously we know the president there has his own interest in Bitcoin specifically, saying that their holdings and the loss of value of their Bitcoin holdings is actually undermining the broader financial system because it's putting their credit rating profile at risk. And we know with these countries that matters for how they raise money, it matters for investment. So there's sort of a crossover here of assets and concerns. Jack, what are the authorities in Argentina saying? And is this sort of separation of sort of church and state here, for want of a better phrase, important in your mind?
You know what I think is interesting, Julia, is it doesn't matter. Think about it this way. When you operate on an open monetary network, a global open monetary network, you know whose opinion matters? The consumer, and that's it. There's nothing they can do about it. If the consumer elects a better financial experience through us or through anyone that operates on the Bitcoin monetary network, then that's going to be the winner. We saw this in the internet, Julia. The reason I have a Facebook account and not a MySpace account is because Facebook won the experience. When you have an open system where it's free to compete for the consumer's experience, then that's when you see innovation and the consumer elects the winners, not the government. And that's what these people want. And so I'm here to deliver a good experience to people all over the world. And listen, whether some government hates me, some government loves me, you know what? I don't give a bleep.
Thank you for bleeping yourself there and saving me the need to do. It was interesting. I spoke to the head of the IMF about this when El Salvador made their decisions. And the IMF chief said to me, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily make it a good idea. And I know you can comment on that, but you don't have to, that you went into the IMF and did a presentation to sort of explain to them what you're doing and some of the broader issues and experiences. And I believe you used tortilla chips, raisins and peanuts as part of your presentation. Jack, how was that presentation and how was the feedback from the IMF?
Yeah, well, the IMF should look in the mirror and say that to themselves. This is a true story, Julia. I was in the home of a multi-trillion-dollar asset manager, and this is the story I told to the IMF, is that right now, in order to move money around the world, think of it as cumbersome raisins. There's tortilla chips and all these raisins, and what I did is if you take the legacy system, you got one tortilla chip on the right, one tortilla chip on the left, right, and there's all these intermediaries in the middle. There's tortilla chips all in the middle with all these raisins that I equated to dollars. They're like all these dollars. You got to pay rent. There's fixed costs. There's T+X settlement. There's 30-cent swipe fees that Visa invented out of the sky. There's no logic to that. They're just bullies. And what I did is I said, I can replicate all of this muck of all these tortilla chips, which are legacy institutions, and all these raisins, which represent dollars, and all the rent all over the world, and all the legacy costs that don't make any sense. They only made sense when my grandfather was my age. And I can do the same thing with peanuts. And so I took below to the IMF. I said, here's a tortilla chip that wants to send money across the world. Here's a tortilla chip that wants to receive money across the world. And a peanut, which represents Bitcoin, can get it across the world instantly and for free without the muck of Western Union, without the muck of Visa. There's no swipe fee. There's no intermediaries in this monetary network. And it's going to dematerialize all the existing muck and old stale tortilla chips with disgusting sun-dried raisins, and all we have to do is take the peanuts to remove them all. Now listen, IMF, you don't want to touch. If you don't want to touch the peanut, then don't. We can debit and credit from bank accounts. We could use stable coins. We're just using Bitcoin to better escrow value in a way that Visa has no chance.
Jack, what was their response? We need to go and have lunch now because we're starving. Never mind anything else.
There are things I can't disclose, but the IMF is very entertained and excited about a new era of cross-border payments. How about that?
I think that was very diplomatic. Jack, I've run out of time and I have 20 more questions for you. You're invited back soon. Come back, please, and talk to me because you've made some really punchy comments about other things. Good luck in Argentina. We shall reconvene and, yeah, we'll reconvene on that conversation about filling the wardrobe as well. Jack Mallers, CEO of Strike. Always a pleasure.
I'm a punchy guy, Julia. Happy early Valentine's Day. Thanks for having me.
Oh, wow. There you go.